All right, well, how quickly things change because Friday morning, Phil Perry just doing his job, asking for some mailbag questions, and he gets one from Stephanie wondering which Patriot's going to have a breakout season. And Phil replies, well, I wonder if Jack Jones is poised to truly establish himself as a playmaker on the outside. He needs to be a pro. He needs to stay on the field, but he has ball skills that are reminiscent of what J.C. Jackson brought to the table. They flashed consistently during minicamp. Unfortunately, hours later, Jack Jones was arrested at Logan Airport for carrying 2 loaded guns in his carry-on luggage. He's likely going to be arraigned tomorrow. Now, charges include 2 counts each of a concealed weapon in a secure area of an airport, unlawful possession of a firearm, and possession of a large-capacity feeding device. And that's where we're going to be when we welcome in Phil Perry, Greg Bedard, and you can join the conversation as well right away. We can vote on the poll as we've got it up there. How should the Patriots handle the Jack Jones situation? Should they cut him? Should they suspend him? Should there be no punishment at all? And we'll get back to that in just a second. But with you guys, I just want to start with, Phil, start with you. What was your reaction? I mean, it was just shy of 10 p.m. on Friday night because we got right into it on BST Fridays. But what was your reaction?
Well, it is truly unbelievable that someone would try to bring a loaded weapon, never mind 2, onto a plane. But my secondary reaction to that now, having spoken to some people familiar with these types of cases, I actually spoke to someone who worked with Quinnen Williams when Quinnen Williams was facing similar weapons charges at an airport. Though those charges were very different, the message that got back to me, Giles, was this is very serious, number one, because as long as the gun is legal and you have a license or your permit and you don't have a record, it can be minor, as it was for Quinnen Williams. He wasn't even suspended by the league. He paid a ticket to the state of New York. Jack Jones, it looks like, based on what we know right now, might go 0 for 3 as far as those elements are concerned. So he could be facing real time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different situation. I know a lot of people kind of want to put them next to each other and draw the parallels. Greg, what was your reaction when you saw this?
My first reaction was, and I agreed with what Phil wrote. I mean, as far as Jack Jones and the mini camp and the offseason that he had, I mean, we just came off of a practice where Jack Jones was getting first-team reps at number 1 cornerback over Christian Gonzalez. And to me, I thought it was a reward from the coaches, from Bill Belichick, saying like, hey, we know we had our issues last year, but you had a really nice offseason. You've done all the right things. Here's a little attaboy. You're doing a good job, like setting himself up. Let's give him a little carrot, going into training camp. And you're like, okay, he's going places. And now you're thinking about, well, if Gonzalez hits and now if Jack Jones is on board and Jonathan Jones can go back to slot, now you're like, oh, now the Patriots have something going on at cornerback. And now you can really see the defense being truly elite. And then this happens and you're just like, bro, I mean, really? I mean, you just days ago, and I'm sure Bill Belichick and I'm sure some of the leaders of the team stood in front of the team and said, look, behave yourselves. Like, don't go out and be a knucklehead. Don't go out and get into trouble. Like, we have a chance to do something here, but it takes all of us in this room, and it starts by being smart and responsible in the offseason, and the guy couldn't even go 2 days without doing that.
No, and what he's up against now, I guess, is the bigger question because that, again, relates to the poll question. You can scan the QR code on the screen or go to NBCSportsBoston.com. But as we read off some more of the charges here, we gave a few of them already, but we're talking serious charges with serious jail time if convicted. Greg, where do you think the Patriots stand right now? I mean, obviously they haven't cut him yet, and it kind of feels like they're going to wait for some of the legal process to at least play out here. But what do you think their position is and how they're playing this?
Yeah, I think that's what they do. I think they let this play out. They see what the league does. Depending on how his court appearance goes tomorrow and things going forward, maybe the Patriots make some sort of decision to preemptively suspend him for a couple of games. But, I don't see the Patriots doing anything drastic here. I mean, yes, Jack Jones was a character risk coming out of college. We all knew that. He ended up being suspended by the team during his rookie season. But, if you take all that stuff together, then yes, you could say, all right, the Patriots could react. I don't think the Patriots are going to do that. I think they're going to go look at last year as sort of like the first strike. This is sort of a second strike. And I could see them saying like, look, depending on what happens as far as your freedom and things like that, you're on thin ice now. You're out of strikes, one more screw up and you're gone. Like hopefully they probably look at it like hopefully the light goes on for the kid now, but I have serious questions about that.
Yeah, I think you wait, right? You're not playing a game this weekend. You don't have to make a decision in the here and now. This is the dead period of the NFL. But I think the decision may very well just be taken out of their hands. We might be talking about, well, what do they do if he actually has to serve jail time here? Like that's what we're talking about. This is not about his playing career. I know that's what we care about, covering the team the way we do. But he's right now, he is in jeopardy of losing his freedom, as Greg put it. So I don't know if they're going to have a decision to make. So they might as well just wait until that time arrives, and then you make the decision.
But, I mean, we all know the wheels of justice move very slowly. I mean, we're talking about what? And he's not – unless he cops some sort of plea, there's not going to be adjudication in the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, this could go on for the next year before he faces the ramifications from this. So then you're like, now what do the Patriots do?
Right.
And – I think they're going to wait. And I think part of it has to do with the situation that they're in at cornerback. And it's not a good situation right now if you have to take a guy off the board.
Well, that's interesting because you keep hearing that the defense is the strength of this team. And cornerback felt like it was pretty strong, especially with the addition of Christian Gonzalez. It feels to me like the Patriots have to move forward. They have to plan as if they're not going to have Jack Jones, right? So how big of a blow is this on the field for them defensively and for this team?
Well, they're pretty deep in the secondary, and so they'll be able to make it work. I don't think, you lose a good piece. You lose a piece that would help you, no question, if Jack Jones can't play. But they'll be able to get by. They just won't be what they were. The one thing about Jack Jones that is a little bit rare in a deep secondary, again, is they don't have a lot of outside corners. They just drafted one in the first round. Jack Jones was the other one. That's kind of it. John Jones, we know, can play out there when they need him to. Marcus Jones had some nice moments on the outside. They believe he's a versatile guy that can play inside and out, but he's 5'8". Those guys, generally speaking, make their living in the slot. They've got a boatload of safeties. I'm sure we'll see 1,000,003 safety packages, but this guy has a skill set that, again, in a pretty deep secondary is actually relatively rare.
Yeah, Phil's right. They're pretty thin at boundary corner. I mean, I do think they have options. I mean, Jonathan Jones, as we saw last year, can play inside, outside. I mean, it's not ideal. You were hoping maybe he just kicks more to a full-time inside role. But you have Jalen Mills, who could go back to cornerback. And then they're just really thin. I mean, then you're into really Shaun Wade as far as a boundary guy. Like, I don't think Marcus Jones is an option on the outside. I think he's solely inside because he's so small. But, I mean, it's really Gonzalez and then Shaun Wade are really the only guys who are boundary guys who have any sort of experience. And so that's a rough place to be.
And Shaun Wade, you're talking about a guy who very well might not be on the 53-man roster to start the year.
But as far as Christian Gonzalez goes, I mean, they at least took a cornerback in the first round, but he's a young cornerback, and now you're going to be relying on him pretty heavily. How much pressure then is Christian Gonzalez facing here in his first year?
I think he was already going to be under a great deal of pressure because I would expect him as a fresh-faced 21-year-old to be in the starting lineup and asked to perform some pretty difficult tasks. Again, because even though Jack Jones was your other boundary corner, even if he was on the field, he has limitations, and they're size related. He's not the shortest guy in the world. He's sniffing 6 feet. But he came into the draft about 160-ish pounds. So there are certain limitations to his game. There was already going to be a lot on him. In terms of Christian Gonzalez, Greg, there certainly will be now.
If you take Jack Jones off the board, there's no net for Gonzalez now. Now they have no choice, but he's got to be out there. He's probably got to be the number one. If they had Jack Jones and Jonathan Jones in their full complement, they could afford to maybe bring him on a little slowly. Maybe the first couple of games, wait, get some experience. Now that's gone. He's got to be out there. He's got to perform. And we all know the schedule is really loaded at the top.